how's your celebration so far? How excited are you to hear other people talk that aren't me? I appreciate that answer. Can I get it for Light and Life? Can I get a We Are All the Republic? Yes. Start you off with indoctrination. Hello, Celebration, and welcome to the High Republic for Light and Life panel, and welcome to everyone that is watching us on the live stream. For those of you that don't know, my name is Christina Ariel, and I am the host of the High Republic show, and I will be your host for the next hour or so, where we will discuss all things related to the High Republic. We've got lots of news and reveals, and I say that lots with all of the capital letters. But you don't want to hear about that. Let's bring out our panelists. First up, allow me to introduce our luminous authors, Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Daniel Jose Older, Kevin Scott, Charles Soule, and from Lucasfilm, we have SVP of Franchise Content and Strategy, Mr. James Waugh. And of course, our Publishing Creative Director and the architect himself, Mr. Michael Soblade. Oh, you guys, say hello to your fans. I know. Oh, we're so excited. So you guys, we're gonna go ahead and get this.
These are comfy.
These are actually really
Very
nice
cool.
chairs.
Wow.
Yeah, they are. These are like, it's giving living spaces.
I might just have a little sleep. Just, wake me up when it's over.
Recline a little.
Can you guys believe this?
A lot of people.
Like,
To be fair, I can't believe I'm not looking at you through a Zoom screen.
I know. I'm going to lose it. This is so good. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you
This
for
is
being
amazing.
here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for reading, because
Yes.
books are awesome. and
That too.
Shout out to the audiobook people in the room.
audiobooks are reading. They're reading. It all counts.
Now, Michael, let's start with you. The last time that you shared a celebration stage with all of these authors was Chicago in 2019. At that point, you teased something called, what is it, Project Luminous. Is there anything you'd like to say about that little project?
Yeah, a couple things. Thank you, because when we teased this out in Chicago in 2019, it was the little initiative that could, and thanks to all of you, it did. And we are really, really grateful for everything you guys have done, all of the support. We did this for all of you. We wanted to make sure that we had stories for everyone. Formats for everyone, and thank you.
Now, James, you've spoken about the fact that you were charged with being bold in the creation of this initiative. Do you think you did so?
Looking out at the audience, I think we've done so. Here's the thing that's been so amazing about this project is, yes, we were charged with being bold. We were charged with trying to do new things with our publishing program and tell new stories and create new characters. And I think we've done that. We really helped develop a whole new era of the Star Wars galaxy with a vast timeline that is going to be a place for amazing Star Wars storytelling for so many years to come. I'm like giddy at the potential of this medium. I can't believe we actually, you all pulled off such an amazing interconnected storyline. So yes, I think bold was an understatement. This is beyond our wildest dreams, and I think the High Republic is going to find its way into tons of other media in the years ahead.
I'm gonna say it looks like the initiative has worked so far.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
No, it's too soon for us to take a victory lap. We are still just getting started. This is still just the tip of the iceberg. But we really did, like I said before, we really wanted to create stories for everyone. We wanted everyone to see themselves in these stories. We wanted to create new stories. We wanted to create escapism, which we certainly needed. over the last couple years. And, I thank all of these authors on the stage. I think all of our editors, everyone at Lucasfilm, everyone at our publishing partners did that. And, really, to all of you, thank you on a job very, very well done.
Now, it seems as if you were looking for the widest audience possible, but that you also wanted the stories and characters to be as specific as possible. And why was that important to each of you? Charles?
I mean, we were given an incredible opportunity when we started to build the High Republic, which was, we could, there were no rules at that point. It was just figure out the best Star Wars story you could, the biggest Star Wars story you could. And so we knew that one of the things that we wanted to do from the very beginning was to tell a story that was incredibly broad, that had perspectives of many, 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 many different kinds of people. Because even if you look at this group here, like, we're very different people. We all care about each other a lot, but we're all extremely different. We bring very different perspectives. And that's kind of what Star Wars does at its best too. And so we wanted to provide all those different perspectives and also provide them a specificity, which I think we've been able to do, and I think it's part of why it connects with so many different kinds of people, and is a big secret to the success of the whole initiative.
Yeah, I think that's why we've got such a big cast. I mean, it's been getting smaller recently, but let's... Too soon?
Too soon!
But the idea right from the beginning was we have all these characters with all these different backgrounds and points of view. So we could really nail into these big galaxy-changing events. But what mattered was what they meant to the people, because at the end of the day, that's what Star Wars is. It's about the characters. It's a galaxy made up of people, and so we really wanted to, zero in on that.
I think also, we're all huge Star Wars fans, and like every Star Wars fan, we were all running around with all of these characters in our heads that we wanted to see, in canon at some point. I just remember the moment when we were all like, okay, who are the Jedi that we're gonna see in this era? And I was like, buckets of blood! and the room got really quiet.
It was exactly like that.
It really was.
It was like that.
I was like, you guys, and no one knew what I was talking about. And then, here we are. But in that sense, it is a dream come true I think for us as writers, that we get to bring all of these characters and then bounce them off each other and have them in this world and having fun together.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it just boils down to Star Wars is for everybody. And if you're not reflecting the people you see in the real world in your fantasy worlds, there's a problem. And I think it was really great that thank you! Let's clap for diversity. And dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs, yes.
But I just think it's that was for me the most exciting thing, is because, as a kid, I got Lando. And then I got Mace Windu. Mace Windu was solid. At least he was a Jedi instead of a guy who was just trying to get into Leia's trousers. But I love Lando, you guys. I wrote a book. But yeah, so I think it's just really nice to be able to include the people I know and love in my life and give them a character that reflects their identities as well.
Yeah. All I would add is a big part of the magic of Star Wars is the way that it mixes the archetypal and the individual. Han Solo is simultaneously a very classic anti-hero type, and yet so individually and perfectly Han. And they're all like that. And that's the thing that draws you in, is you get both the mythic level, and that individual connection that makes you love that character.
Oh. I have a legit question on my paper, but I am also slightly overcome with emotion because this is the first time that we've actually got to do a round table. No, well, we still don't have a table right now. But
Can we get a table?
We're sitting here with everybody, and after all this time and a year and a half of working with the High Republic for me, and much longer for you all throughout the entire pandemic, to be sitting here amongst one another and with you guys in real life able to share this moment, I just want to kind of take a second and just take that in for everybody here, that this is happening. I'm so excited about it. So I promise I'll get back to the program. Now for the group, what has this experience been like? Not the writing process, but the overall experience from the release up until now.
Sorry, everyone was having feelings right now. You were asking your question.
If you need to cry, go ahead and do it. I do it all the
What
time.
happened to Starlight? Oh my God.
You got to read those books, Dan. You got to finish reading them.
I I feel like we need some sad music playing over like a vast majority of this picture.
Where's our in memoriam?
Somebody cue the Sarah McLachlan, please.
Yes, yes. Nice soft focus.
But we had fun.
The question.
We had I know we all had a really great time. And it was hard because we were separated for that period. And, we had these great meetings where the synergy in the room is so ecstatic and excited and the creativity is incredible. And then we couldn't do that for so long. And we had to resort to Zoom and we did our best, with everything else going on. But I know for myself, this really saved me for the period of, these past couple of years that were so hard, but being able to throw myself into this work and learn about these other great writers and their creativity and learn about Star Wars and expand it, that's part of what really kept me going and helped me stay grounded. So I just feel so grateful for it.
We probably spent more time together virtually than we would have done if we were working on this in normal situations. And so there wasn't probably a day that went by without one of us or all of us getting together on Slack or email or Messenger or Zoom, and just being, creating together, or just going, "Are you okay?" Which was a major part of it. It was before, when everything was coming out and we were launching this thing. It wasn't, let's face it, the ideal situation, but it meant that we had a support group all the way through that I don't think we would have had between us.
Yeah.
And then Kevin started killing off characters.
Yes, exactly.
And we were no longer.
We all
okay.
agreed I'd start killing off
we did agree
characters.
to
I
that.
didn't just go one day, I know what I'll do to anyway.
That was a team effort.
To quote
I
Kevin,
hope
he does
you'll
not
future.
kill your favorite characters. He also kills your second favorite characters.
And your third, and your fourth.
We got years to go.
Oh,
years
yes.
to go.
Death by committee.
I mean, from a creative standpoint, this has been one of the most exciting things I've ever done. And I've been fortunate to tell a lot of great stories that I'm really proud of. But the way that this worked as a collaborative thing, and then when it started to be a collaboration with all of you guys as you started to read it and tell us what you thought of it, it was just we all had a lot of energy, just this group as we were making it, and then it started to become this incredible feedback loop when we started to hear what you guys thought of the stories we were telling, and the way that all of those initial stories landed where they did, from the comics to all the novels and all the stories we told. It was like, oh my God, we did this, because when you're writing something, even if it's, I trust the opinions of these people, completely about what they think of the work. If they think it's good, it's good. But ultimately, it kind of matters what you guys think too. And so when it started to come back that you guys felt about the High Republic the way we did, it was one of the best moments of my entire life, especially because it was happening at that moment of January 2021, which was a pretty tough time, as we all remember. So that was my experience. That's the part I'd like to highlight.
Yeah, and I loved the fact working together, I think, you say something is more than the sum of its parts. And that's true both because of the energy that I think we all created together through collaborating, and also because, you brought your A game. You wanted to live up to what everybody else was doing.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to embarrass anybody. Myself mostly.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, everybody else is doing brilliant things. I gotta try and do this. But I mean, that's wonderful though. That's the best possible scenario. It's inspiring for everybody, and what one person builds, everybody else gets to build upon.
And let's shout out the artists too real quick, because Harvey Tolibao, Ario, Dave Wachter, Phil Noto, there's so many amazing artists, and seeing their work come to life.
And all the Disney concept artists
Yes.
as well. I mean,
So many concepts.
Incredible.
all that art that kept coming through. I mean, I've never worked on a fiction project that's had so much art. And so you create these characters, then you see a cover and you go, oh, that's what they think they look like, or whatever. But it was literally every week there'd be an email from Mike going, and here's this person, and here's this person, and here's this person. And that was incredible. That was amazing.
And if we're doing this, we also have to thank Story Group. We also have to thank James and Mike, and PR people and so many people worked on this to make it what it is. It is not just any of us. It's true. This is what Star Wars is, which is a thing that we all make together. You guys are part of it too. It's an amazing thing.
We are all the High Republic.
Oh, are we? Are we? Yeah, we are. We sure are.
No, but I will say that this has been one of the more special projects I've gotten to be a part of because, to what you're saying, Charles, every single person working on it was deeply passionate.
Yeah.
Everybody felt like this great responsibility that they were working on stories that would define a whole new era of the Jedi Order in that time span when we had always aspired to and thought about, when they were the guardians of peace and justice and etc. Like it was special, and you could feel that energy, and you could feel that energy in your creative meetings. You could feel how that bled into Lucasfilm, and it's amazing to see that you felt that passion too.
Now, from a story perspective, Phase 1 was intense. So especially for a time period in which the Jedi are at peace and the ending is, what's that word I'm looking for? Painful. Michael, what do you have to say about that?
That was always part of the plan.
Pain.
We wanted to we wanted to show the galaxy at peace. We wanted to show the Jedi at their height, and into that peace, something wicked this way comes. We knew that we were always going to end with the destruction of Starlight. We knew that we were going to end with the heroes losing, which is not something we typically do. Now, when we were originally crafting this, at one of our early story sessions, we were destroying Starlight at its dedication. And in one of our many meetings, we said, no, we have to see it. We want people to fall in love with it like you would fall in love with any of the other ships out there in the galaxy. So we shifted our timeline. But all of that was part of the plan from the beginning. Even the deaths that you see, it wasn't Cav, at a dartboard,
Cav.
just
blame
saying,
Cav.
It wasn't Cav.
It's the accent. We're programmed to think the Empire speaks like you do, so we're like, of course, Cav. Cav must be the
Can I
bad
just
guy.
say that Cav
Well, of
was
course.
not being
Darth Cavis.
cavalier?
Womp womp.
That was for you, Justina. Carry on. Someone, you guys,
He
it
said
was a
it all.
lot, okay? There were times doing the High Republic show where I would read, I would get something before I'd finished a book, and I would just have to stop because I would start crying because I was so emotionally invested. But
Good.
I want someone to explain
the job. Good.
That was what it was meant to be. I mean, we had that when we were writing these characters as well. I mean, there were certain characters that are there. One guy there with a yellow lightsaber. His teacup. I knew what would happen in that teacup in the last picture we see him. And if you've not seen it yet, go back and look at the picture. It's there somewhere. And so every time Aria would draw that teacup in, flying around his head, I knew what would be happening to that teacup, and it was a case of reminding yourself that you have to pour love into these characters because you're responsible for them and you know where they're ending up. But you also know that it's not just a case of doing a bloodbath for a bloodbath's sake, even though I sound like this. We're doing it because this is one step on the story. This picture here isn't the end of the High Republic. It's like not even the midpoint of the High Republic. This was a step that everyone who's left, there are a few, it's going to affect them. And every death that's happened is going to affect the people we love, as it is in real life as well. So that's why we had to take care for those moments. It wasn't just a case of throwing out the names. Who we're going to kill this week? It was really trying, what would that do to the other people around them? What would that do to the people they work with? What would that do to the people they love? And that's what we're going to be playing out in the years to come.
I would say, I don't know if it's true for you guys, but for me, if I'm going to kill a character, the only way to write that for me is to fall even more in love with that character than I ever have before. You
No one
have
cares
to-
about that guy that walked in on one scene. It's like, oh no, Roy died. What about Roy? It's like, no, it's the ones you love.
Tech number 5, no, please. But, writing, that's when you have to invest the most, I think. If it doesn't really rip you apart, you know that you have not written this correctly.
That's why Yoda bakes, actually. Not that he dies, obviously. But for me, I knew that Starlight was going to be, I knew where we were going with Starlight. And that was what I needed to build up as, like, especially in my work. I was thinking, this is a place where people bake. And that's what it's going to hurt when it goes down even more because of that.
Not
and here
the
we
cupcakes.
It's where the memories are made, and so much of what we grieve comes from memories and from those moments. So it's extremely understandable that you would find yourself in that kind of a situation with these characters. All right, I'm not going to ask about the fate of everyone from the end of phase 1. Instead, is there a particular character that we should keep an eye on, or is there an unsung or overlooked character from phase 1?
Buriaga. Yeah, he's an interesting character. Where is he? We kind of... Yeah.
Big
Who knows?
question mark, yeah.
Who knows? We know.
He's great. I love Buriaga. Oh, well.
I think you should always look at.
Charles!
Oh, well.
Not on this stage, not in this room.
You always.
That's a shame.
You should always look where Oberlin is at any time, and whether he's in more than one place.
True. I'm going to say Arkoff, another amazing Wookiee of the High Republic. Keep an eye on Arkoff.
I think a character that I'm not sure, because we did plan a lot ahead, but as you write, you do discover things and things happen. One character that I think we didn't realize was going to wind up having so much story was Nan, and her story is not over.
I'm just here for my boy, Bell Zedifer. I don't care about anybody else.
And I'd say keep an eye on Comac.
Oh, no.
Yep. The character I would actually say is Porter Engle, and there's a I'll talk a little bit more about him when we talk about phase 2, but there's like a whole big thing with him that's going to be really cool. So that's the one I would say.
Oh, and also keep your eye on Lorna and make sure she's never behind you. I think that's fair to say.
She should not be anywhere near you, like next
There are-
run up beside, no.
You've got to know where she is, Lo, because that's.
Aren't there some Lorners in the room? I saw them when we were
we saw some
backstage.
Lornas.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I feel bad for whoever's sitting in front of you, but
All right. Now, while we don't have any of our new authors here, we do have 2 more guests from phase 1. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome host of This Week in Star Wars and author of The Art of the High Republic, Kristen Baver. And the man of 1,000 voices and narrator of our Del Rey audio novels, Mark Thompson.
Mark, you could have dressed up, mate.
And
You could have made an
chairs.
effort.
And chairs.
You guys get the fancy director's chairs.
Welcome, y'all.
Thank
For
you.
having us. Very important pieces of the puzzle over here.
It's nice to see you again, Christina.
I know, I haven't seen you enough this week.
It's like been 2 hours.
I know.
I missed you. I know.
K squared. All right, so Kristen, let's start with you, my love. You're writing The Art of the High Republic.
I am.
We're hoping that you can spill some tea with this title. What have you got for us? Maybe, I don't know, a cover?
I see now why I'm sitting next to Mike. This is very clearly a trap, just so I have to say, Mike.
Go ahead.
We can roll the tape. All right. So I am here today to give you the first look at the cover for The Art of the High Republic.
Hey.
There she is.
Look at her!
Cover art by the great Grant Griffin, who of course also did a lot of our concept art for this initiative.
Wow.
And of course we've got Burry, we've got Keeve, we've got Stellan, and we've got Yoda.
That is super dope. But how about some interior art?
I would love to show you interior art. However, before we get there, I got one more thing to say about this cover.
Tell me.
By Kristen Baver. And what does it say under that, Christina?
Forward by Kathleen Kennedy.
Forward by Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh my gosh.
That is pretty amazing. I have no words for that.
There he is.
yeah, that's
Where on my
That's the reaction we want.
I love the live reaction in this room to this slide.
yeah.
So this is, of course, Marcion Rowe. I looked at Charles as I said it.
I know.
Yeah, I saw your face. Marcion.
Hey.
We're not going to get into a fight up here about it.
Let's call the whole thing off.
Let's call the whole thing off. So this is Marcion Rowe.
You're okay. You're
Twisting the knife, twisting the blade there.
Uh-huh.
What I love about this spread is if you look very closely in our upper left-hand corner, we have some really early concept art from Marcion Rowe. So this is before everyone on this stage decided what the species was going to be for our great Eye of the Storm. So he had some kind of chalky white flesh, he has some really great markings, and my favorite thing about this is he also has trophies like a total sociopath from all of his victims. So all the way on the left you see he's got lightsabers, he's a little bit like Grievous, yes. I'm also told by the artist that all the way on our right, he has shards from ships that he has taken over, and they're just embedded in his armor. Again, sociopath, right? Am I right?
That's true. Yes.
That's my book
Yes, you
you're
are.
talking about.
Eyes like a shark.
Now, can you tell us a bit about the overall process?
I would love to. Yeah, sorry, I just launched right into, let me tell you my favorite things about this spread.
I mean, it's impressive.
So the overall process for creating the art of Star Wars: The High Republic was really fascinating. Typically, with an art of book, which, you know, of course, the great Phil Shostak has written so many art of books. If you're a fan of the series, you probably have his entire collection, as well as Josh Cushion's and Amy Ratcliffe, and now I'm so excited to join that group. The process, however, was just interviewing everyone on this stage except for Christina. Love you, sorry. And really trying to get the behind-the-scenes story of how this initiative came to be. Now, if you don't know, I was actually a journalist before I came to Lucasfilm. So this was kind of a coming back to that part of my brain that just loves to ask nonstop questions and talk to people for hours on end and really try and get into the room of what was happening at Skywalker Ranch as they were coming up with this initiative. And it was just so fascinating. I love this story in this book. I'm so excited to share it with all of you when it comes out. And we also got to talk about really tough things, like how the pandemic shaped this series. Charles had already written Light of the Jedi when that happened in 2020. It certainly, I think, impacted some of the revisions.
Absolutely.
But there are a lot of choices that feel like they could have been made after March of 2020 that just...
Basically Charles's fault.
Yes. I just want... Let's just let that go.
Is it Cav's fault? Is it Charles's fault? Who knows?
You know, we're all the Republic.
Flood blame happening in the center of the stage here.
What else you got for me, Kristen?
What else do I have? Let's see. Yes.
Look at that hair.
Top knot Yoda.
Top Knot Yoda!
That was a big deal to us, Top Knot Yoda, as you can probably tell.
We are so
Obviously, I'm a huge Yoda fan. I absolutely adore this character, as I think is true for everyone on this stage. The first thing I said to Mike when we were talking about me being on this panel and getting to share some of this art from inside the book with all of you was, I really want Man Bun Yoda. Can we do that? And we can. You see, we did.
But I think, it's important to see it because it's important to look at process.
Process, yeah.
Because if we're telling a story of the High Republic and it's centuries before the Skywalker saga, you can't just drop Yoda from Ep 4 in there, and you can't just drop Yoda from Ep 1 in there. And what does Yoda look like? What do the Jedi look like? And we really looked at everything. And you called out Phil before, Phil Shostak, Pablo Hidalgo, Matt Martin, everyone, Emily, everyone on story team. The authors, we thought of every little detail, and we had Jeff Thomas do art, we had Grant Griffin do art. Ultimately, what we came upon was, Yoda just needs to look a little bit younger. We need to give him the gold and the white, and give him a little bit more attitude, which is what he has here.
To that process point, I think one of the stories that this book really gets into that was an absolute blessing for this project, this entire initiative, is that I think it went back to the Lucasfilm's roots of that sort of synergy between the art department, story, writers, and the ability to sort of react to art in the process of writing. and really see the exploration and how these things pinged off each other. It is, when I think Lucasfilm is at its best, we were working holistically like that, and different talents are inspiring each other. And
Absolutely.
This is an example of that.
100%.
And also, speaking of the roots, I know I jokingly called it Man Bun Yoda earlier, but one of the really cool things as I was talking to the artist about this piece was he was talking about how he went back and he looked at things that influenced George Lucas as he was creating Star Wars in the first place. So he looked at Akira Kurosawa. He looked at what samurais look like, and that's where a lot of these designs truly come from. So not only was he looking at what does Yoda need to look like before we meet him in The Phantom Menace, but also how can we bake in some of that genuine, authentic Star Wars, DNA into the process. Now, ultimately, the decision was that Yoda, he's 900 years old when we last see him in Return of the Jedi, so he's probably not going to change so drastically in the couple of centuries that we have between the High Republic and the Phantom Menace. So ultimately, of course, the page on the right is the Yoda of the High Republic era. Also by Grant Griffin.
But the attitude I still love that picture of Yoda, the main one with the gold.
You see the
Because the attitude on that, the way he's holding himself and everything. And I know when Ario drew Yoda in the first issue of the High Republic comic, again, it was the swagger, and we got the pantsuit in as well then for that Yoda. And it's the way he walks onto Starlights in the Ops Center, in the hub, and everyone just goes, "It's Yoda." And it was that's the attitude we wanted to get from him.
You mentioned Ario, and I have to say, one of the absolute blessings of working on this book was getting to talk to all of the artists. We got to talk to Ian McCaig, we got to talk to Phil Noto, and Ario and Harvey were just delightful. They are so clearly just diehard fans that cannot believe that they get to work on this every single day, and they're so delighted by working with all of you.
Kristen?
Christina.
Arf, 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 arf. Next slide.
This next one's for Justina.
Can you guys
Give me that premium Bell content.
This is
Bell
one of
content.
one of the questions I am most delighted about. What does Ember mean to you? Go ahead, Justina. We know you want to.
Arf, 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 arf.
Oh my God. My thoughts exactly.
We need more pets. Everyone needs more pets. Everyone
Yes.
needs more scritches and love, and just, it's amazing to see a Jedi and his dog. I mean, Charhound.
Yeah. In my case, I knew I was like, okay, I have to set an amount to have Ember and stick to that amount, or otherwise it's going to be, like the fallen star, Ember's story. I would very happily do that.
No one's complaining about that, Claudia. We would love that.
Now, as excited as I am to talk about the beautiful Ember, I would like to get over to you, Mark. How did you go about finding the voices for this era? And specifically, how did you land upon Marchion Ro's voice?
Yeah. It was really cool. I mean, it's kind of a perfect segue because the concept art really was a huge inspiration, and just seeing all those beautiful paintings and illustrations of these characters totally influenced me. And I got this top secret email of a lot of them, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. So a lot of it was that, and then most of it is just how amazing all of you are, and just because you put so much into the writing that it puts these pictures in my mind. And for Marchion, there was a line in Light of the Jedi that says, his voice was quiet, a breath, not a scream. And I kind of latched onto that, and there was something about the quietness and the breathiness. He's very cold and calculating and passive. Don't forget your hand. And there's something that was almost more unsettling about that than another choice I could have made. And the concept art about him being like a predator, and he looked like a shark. And I was thinking about the idea of like how calm and still sharks are until they strike, and then they're like ferocious. But before that, it's like this eerie stillness that's like almost makes you more uncomfortable.
Now,
You nailed it.
Oh, thank you. All right. Phew. I did not want to answer this question with Charles on the stage, so yeah.
do you have any other favorite characters or voices from the High Republic?
My other favorite is Skier. He is stupendous.
That made me so happy. All right, so we are between phases now, so let's talk about phase 2, y'all. Michael and James, what can you tell us?
If you go to I think it's the next slide, phase 2 is an all-new jumping on point. You do not have to have read any of phase 1 for phase 2. But it's the type of thing where you get to see where the story was at its start, right? It's very similar to the Skywalker saga. You know, we told the middle, we're going to tell the beginning, and then we will tell the end. And it is very much an age of exploration, as you can see.
All right, how about some more reveals? So
We got a lot of reveals. Let's go.
let's meet some of the
Buckle
cast.
in.
Charles, can you tell us about the chancellors, plural?
I can. So one of the things we wanted to do, well, actually, pulling back a tiny bit, Star Wars is a history, right? And eras of history inform one another. And so what we're doing with phase 2 is going back 150 years before the storytelling that we just saw in phase 1. And so what we really wanted to do was suggest some of the ways that the history we'll see in phase 2 turns into the history we see in phase 1, just like real life history does. And one of the ways we wanted to do that was to suggest that, not suggest, we're gonna have 2 chancellors. And Chancellor Greylark, who's a human who is very sort of focused on a westward expansion, kind of like the exploration movement that is a big, big part of phase 2. Whereas Chancellor Moyo is a Quarren who is actually in the Outer Rim, but is very focused on things happening in the core. And that's a really interesting dynamic, right? The person from the core is focused on going out, while the person from the Outer Rim is more focused on like things inward. And so, but the thing that's really emblematic and the thing that makes this still the High Republic is that those 2 people are not at odds. They're like, we have this movement to focus on developing the core. We also have this focus on the expansion, and let's do those things together in a way that like elevates both of us. And that's very High Republic. And yet having a 2-chancellor dynamic is interesting and new and will lead into the storytelling we see in phase 1.
That history, by the way, is something that's going to be really unique to this initiative in the sense that I think some of the really bold things George did with the prequels was kind of seeing the antecedents of design, seeing sort of the things that led to the original trilogy. And I think what's been great about this process is having those world building conversations, seeing those design moments of seeing those antecedents kind of take place, seeing what a droid would look like here and how that would build forward. And then just seeing the historical cost of, we all think of the world moving on these like 4-year time cycles, but in truth, things that happened decades ago impact the now. And so I think that's something that will evidence itself as this initiative.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Also, shout out to Minji Yoon, who is a fantastic concept artist. Yes. So hopefully is either here or watching. So I'm very excited to see their art up here. Let's talk about phase 2 because I'm told there are even more reveals in this panel. Claudia, who are the Pathfinders?
Really, all I can tell you is this is the Jedi and the Republic working together at this early phase, and it's about exploration. This is a point in time where this area of space is very much unknown to the Republic, and not everything is necessarily tied together as closely. You've always got a master, you've always got a Padawan, and although this idea predated it, did anybody else think about that when you sort of saw the Master Padawan episode of Visions? I definitely felt some of that vibe. You have these really become very tightly knit groups that are going out really into the unknown. I mean, one thing that we talked a lot about in terms of this was how tech would be different. Because with Star Wars, canonically, they've had roughly this tech for about 10,000 years. We're like, well, how do we make it different? How do we make it rougher? And we realized, tech is no good without infrastructure. You have to have that infrastructure to make things work. And so that's something we've relied on in phase 1. You don't have the same capabilities. And these people are even more out on their own, even more right on the cusp of that adventure.
So we've talked about the Pathfinders. Cav, do you want to tell us about the comms team?
So one of the themes that have been going through the High Republic, in fact going through Star Wars, that communication is good, guys. talk to each other. When you don't, bad things happen. But our teams in phase 2 literally can't talk to each other when they're out there in the galaxy exploring. They don't have a series of beacons that are beaming holograms and beaming messages back and forth. So the comm teams are out there trying to desperately establish, as the Republic grows, the ability and the infrastructure that they can all talk to each other. But the droids, the EX droids, this was something that Pablo came up with in one of our very first weeks in Skywalker Ranch. When he talked about the Pony Express droids we could have. And that's exactly what these are. Because at this point, you can't beam messages across. You literally have to talk into a droid that goes, okay, I'm off, gets in a little spaceship and zooms back to the core, delivers the message, waits for the message, and then goes back. So it's like cell phones in dramas. You don't want them because they ruin drama, because you can just phone someone up. So you try everything you can do to break a phone within the first act. That's what we've done here. We've broken the entire galactic communication systems, and those droids are really important.
Oh, okay. So we've seen comms team, we've seen the Pathfinders. Let's see some Jedi. Cav, who are Maddie and Olivia?
So, this is Matty and Olivia. They are two Jedi who are operating out of Jeddah, which is a big part of Phase 2. So Matty is a Padawan, Olivia is a Jedi Knight. They're not she's not Olivia's Padawan, but they work together in something called the Convocation of the Force. And I won't go any further on that just yet.
I would stop there.
I just heard Charles go,
I'm just intrigued. I can't wait to hear what it's all about.
Well, you're going to have to.
Yes, I suppose so.
Michael is sitting right there.
I would stop there. Let's move on. What's the next slide?
All right, and Daniel, we hear that Arkoff is back.
Arkoff!
As my grandma would say, tell me about his little friend.
That is this wonderful droid named Zizi, who you will find out lots about Zizi coming up. But I did say to watch Arkoff. Arkoff is not just an amazing Jedi and an amazing leader to other Jedi, but he's a pivotal part of this larger story that we're telling, and that's why I'm so excited to get into him more in the upcoming manga, which we'll hear more about soon.
And Daniel, since we are speaking to you,
Yes.
who or what are the, am I saying this right, Dankraks?
The Dank Grack. So my
Concept art by Daniel Jose
art?
Older.
who
Art by Daniel Jose
did that art? Who did that weird art? Mike came to us and was like, we want to do some bad guy reveals. Can you write up who the bad guys are in the comic? And I was like, yes. And then I didn't. And then it was too late. And then in the words of the poet Thanos, I was like, I'll do it myself. And these are the Dank Gracks. You will meet them in the Dark Horse comics. They look funny, but they are really mean. Most of them are rejects from different dark side force cults from around the galaxy. You may recognize some of the Sorcerers of Tund kind of regalia that one of them has. They're all just these kind of losers who, they're not great at the Force, I'm gonna be honest with you. They don't practice, they don't really have that discipline, but they are mean, and they are very well connected, and they cause a lot of trouble. And one of them hates Maz Kanata more than I can even explain. And that's all I have to say about that.
Kristen, please put this in volume 2.
Listen, the good news is I'm not doing the art for the comic.
No, I want this specifically in volume 2 of the
I want an art of Daniel
I'm
Jose
already
Older.
feeling like I'm missing out now. There's 4 more pieces of art that are not in the book.
I did say
cover
a
of the
Force-sensitive
second
Bill the Cat was going to be part of this, and there she is.
No, we've already revealed a character named Marta Rowe, but we have some more of this mysterious path of the open hand to reveal. Justina, can you tell us about the mother?
I don't know, there's no art up there. Oh, wait, maybe I can. Sometimes it's just a trap, you guys. So the mother is, well, she is the spiritual leader of a group of adherents that is very charismatic and very nurturing and very complicated.
Good word.
I'm trying to, I literally just read through this manuscript, and so I'm trying to figure out, like, what can I say that's not a spoiler? All I will tell you is her primary belief is the Force will be free. What does that mean? I don't know, ...
Who's the Herald?
I forgot there was another character. See, I did my homework and wrote all this stuff. I didn't get to draw my own characters. So the Herald is sort of the administrative side of this this group of believers. And so you can see, I mean, he's an Nautolan with no head tendrils. Maybe had a little bit of a rough life. Sometimes that happens, right? You can see, unlike the mother, he's a little more, doesn't adhere to fashion, maybe? Like, he's a little tattered. He's got his work boots on.
It's called distress.
Distressed. He paid a lot of money for those pre-distressed robes.
Oh, he's definitely distressed.
Urban Outfitters.
It's the Kanye version of the face, too.
He is ripped. Not for nothing. He's brolic.
Yeah, I know. So he's kind of works with the mother, but, friends become enemies, enemies become friends. It's not a story with a little bit of conflict, and you'll have to read Path of Deceit to figure it all out.
Speaking of Path of Deceit, we've already revealed the cover to our young adult novel, Path of Deceit, by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland. But let's take a look at some other covers, shall we?
Oh, yes.
First up is our sneak peek at the work in progress for Zoraida Cordova's novel, Convergence. Then we get to the cover to the middle grade novel, Quest for the Hidden City, written by George Mann. And then a comic mini-series from Dark Horse called The Nameless Terror, also written by George Mann. I think I can guess the villain of this one. Cab, do you want to do the honors on the next one?
I don't know, what is the next one? Oh, right, there we go. So this is issue 1 of the new Marvel High Republic series by Ario, who's returning on this issue with me. So we've met Matty there. That's Vildar Mak, who is someone who comes to Jeddah to find himself. And as of the person behind, well, you have to wait and see.
Just gonna say the dude on the right has big David K. Harbour energy, just saying. Just gonna throw that out there. Charles, can you do the honors on the next one?
I'm really excited too. So this is a story about Porter Engle, the Blade of Bardota, I was very fortunate in Phase 1 to get to tell a very focused story about Marking Row called Eye of the Storm, and Porter Engle is another character that was introduced in Light of the Jedi, who I've known his backstory for a long time, and I'm very lucky that I get to do this focus series for Marvel as a comic, which is where I've done a ton of my storytelling about his story, right? So when we meet him in the Phase 1 stories, he's a legend, beyond legend in the Jedi Order. And he's cheerful and he's happy and he cooks his stew and all that stuff. But as we all probably know, the person you are on the outside is not always the person you are on the inside. And Porter Engle is very, very much like that. And this is going to explore why he's the way he is, why he like just went off and was a cook. He's very much a gunslinger Jedi in this. Which is a concept that I'm very excited for you to see what that means, what a gunslinger Jedi actually is. He travels with his sister, which is something they have a really, really cool dynamic that I think is gonna be fun. The story is one of the most epic things I've ever written. I told Mike, I sort of ran it down for him last night, and it seems like it landed pretty well. And then the last element I want to say about it is that one of the things I like to do, because I've been fortunate to tell stories in a lot of different eras of Star Wars, is connect pieces. And there's something that I laid down in the Darth Vader book I did a long time ago called the Barash Vow. There's a Jedi who takes the Barash Vow when they step away from the Force for a while when they feel like they have to. And this is going to be the origin of where that Barash Vow comes from. So.
And I would say there's a lot of big adventure in Phase 2, but this is one of the darker stories, I'd say.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a tragedy, but a really cool one.
Best kind.
Yes. Mark, is there anything that you'd like to announce?
Yes, there is. Coming early next year, there's going to be an all-new audio original, and it's entitled The Battle of Jeddah.
Wow.
Yeah. All I can say is there's a battle, and it's in or around Jeddah.
Solid answer. And you know what else? Let's announce some more novels. So coming spring 2023, we have Cataclysm, which is our adult novel by Lydia King. Quest for Planet X, which is our middle grade by Tessa Gratton. And Path of Vengeance, our young adult novel by Kevin Scott.
Hey.
Look at all that. So that was a lot of reveals and a lot of exciting content to come. Phase 2 looks like it's going to be just as exciting as Phase 1. And if the evasiveness of my guests is any indicator, prepare. But we're not done yet. As a thank you for everyone who came to this panel and just before, then don't forget we have our THR cosplay contest and photo op starting at 3 o'clock outside. Oh, you know what I just did? I skipped that really cool part where we give everybody that came to this panel a poster. Oh. Which poster? That one. And you can get this poster signed at the Mysterious Galaxy booth tomorrow at 4:30. And just before that, don't forget about our THR cosplay contest and photo op starting at 3 o'clock. And outside in front of the fountain, we hope to see you there in your best cosplay. Now, panelists, that was a lot of everything we've seen and what we can talk about. What are you most looking forward to?
Like this weekend or just in life?
I was like, I'm gonna have dinner at some point.
Phase 2. They don't care about your weekend. They care about Phase 2.
All right.
I'll start with that one because I'll say that Path of Deceit, the YA by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland, is one of the best novels that we have ever made in publishing here. It really is extremely welcoming.
You're just setting me up, Mike, and everyone's gonna hate it. I'm gonna have to cry.
And I've said, Justina, I've said this to you a dozen times, and same with Tessa. It's a really, really amazing YA novel. If you've never read YA before, don't let that stop you from picking this up. It's a great introduction to Phase 2. In fact, it will kick off Phase 2 on October 4th, I believe, of this year. And there are a lot of seeds in there for storytelling to come beyond that novel. So that is one of the things that I am most excited for Phase 2.
James, is there anything else that you can tell us about this initiative? Might we? Ooh.
Don't you hate
Nothing to see here.
You got a Jedi mind trick him.
What was that?
Whoa. Look at the light. You did that, did not.
Michael?
Nothing? Weren't you talking to James?
I mean, if you don't want to tell me. James, is there anything else you can tell us about this initiative? Might we see it grow beyond publishing in X Labs?
I think absolutely. We are seeing it grow every day. And I think that's the thing that's always been so exciting about this is to really launch something in publishing and then create a space that could kind of go on for decades. Like I said before, there's video games in development. As we know, Leslie Headland is currently in development on a live-action High Republic show called The Acolyte. She's an incredible talent, and I'm excited for you all to see what she's been doing. And there are other things. And one day I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that. But we're super excited about where the High Republic is going. It's a bright future ahead until Cabin kills everybody.
Seriously.
Michael, you got anything else that you want to show us before we wrap up?
I don't know what you're talking about. So we glimpsed the Nameless at the end of Eye of the Storm #2. But we never actually got a good look at them, and we thought, why not reveal this mysterious, nameless creature that has been plaguing the Jedi for a good chunk of our initiative. We spoke about many times before about communication being a theme, but the other big theme was what scares the Jedi, and this is certainly connected to that. This is the Nameless, but if you want to talk about the Leveler. Yeah, so, the Jedi should be afraid. They should be very, very afraid.
Well, that's creepy. And with that, we bring our panel to a close. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thanks for watching at home. Thanks for loving the High Republic the way we love you. And may the Force be with you.
And if I could just say very, very quickly, you know, we said it earlier at the start, but this really is a labor of love for everyone on this stage, and there's an army of people who are working on this with us. You know, we said Phil Shostak, you know, Pablo Story Group, all of the Alyssa Hurwitz, everyone in publicity, everyone in marketing, all of our publishers. We are working on all of this and really trying to deliver something that is worthy of Star Wars and worthy of you know what we all experienced when we were kids sitting in that movie theater. And we're doing this for all of you, and we thank you for showing up today. The fact that this room is filled is ridiculous. You know, thank you, really, really thank you, because we are all the Republic. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the show. Thank you, Christina.
For light and life.
Hello, old friend.